Wow, you're a powerful leader. Hey, just look up to the Lord and say, I love you real quick. Okay, anyways, 4 through 9. I'm going to go over the 4th step with you right now, okay? Made a fearless and searching moral inventory of ourselves. We're going to cover 3 areas: resentments, fears, and guilts. Everybody's got them. And these things most likely are a strong influence in the person to drive them to their addiction, to drive them to whatever it is that they're doing, okay? And like I said, everybody should do the 12 steps. Everybody should. Because you get this thing down on paper. And this is powerful. You go through your life and you say, who do I have a resentment toward? Kyle, how do I know that I have a resentment towards somebody? First, pray about it. Take time and think of those people who have really harmed you in your life, who have really done something profound to hurt you, unintentionally or intentionally, okay? And then how do you feel, okay? What I usually tell people is, if there is any doubt, if there's any gray area in you that says, I don't know if I resent them, I don't know, I mean, I don't really hate them or anything, but yeah, if there's any just write it. It's not going to hurt, just write it out. And because chances are you're going to be writing and you're going to say, because when you write what they did to you, the emotions come back. Powerful, right? The emotions come back when you write these things out, okay? This process forces the person for inner healing. It forces them to make a choice. Are they going to write these things down or not? This is the step that confirms whether or not they did the first 3 steps. Because are they powerless? Do they believe Jesus can restore them? And did they make a decision to go forward? This is going to say yes or no to that question. So how do you do a 4th step? Let's start off with resentments. So first column is who. Who do you have a resentment toward? I don't know. Let's go for it. Just for example, my dad. Okay? Now, there's going to be moments where you're young and there's going to be moments when you're old that you caught resentments. That's what the language is. Man, I caught a resentment today, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about dad. What would an example be? A common one. Abuse. Okay? So, my father abused me. Let's get specific. The more specific you can be, the better. So how did he abuse you? Sexually. I'm just using this as an example here. Sexually. He would take me into the room and do this. Yeah, you got to get specific. So, I'm not going to write all that out, but right? Here, explain to the person, how many times, right? How many years was this happening? What was happening specifically, okay? Have them write that out, okay? How old were they, right? Things like that. So you're writing who you resent and why you resent them. What did they do? All right? Another one could be, I don't know, Dylan. I don't really know anybody named Dylan, so it's a good name, right? Because he's prideful. Okay? He gets more attention than me. He's got a girlfriend, I don't. Blah, 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 blah. And you write out the details of this thing, okay? Now, a good homework, by the way, I didn't mention this, once you're starting the 4th step, you don't give them the whole kit and caboodle in one go, because it's a lot. Have them go home, or you text them this for them to do this. You don't got to do a whole meeting about it. Hey, brother, hey, sister, send me your list of people of resentments. First step, just think and pray of the people that you have resentment towards. and send me that list. Okay? Or they have them write it out. Boom. Cool. They did their homework. You know what I'm saying? Give them one thing at a time. Anyways, we wrote out why. Be specific. Now, this is the most important part of all three of these things, okay? What was your wrong? Now, here, these are two kind of different categories. Why? Let's say, for example, this was done as it is going to happen. You're going to see a lot of people have this when they were young children, right? They were young children. They were powerless. They were abused. Their will was went up against, right? What the heck wrong did they do? Okay? At the end of the day, they have held this resentment and unforgiveness and they have allowed it to continue to influence them in their behavior. If anything, this is the only thing that you can find in child and children abuse, okay? Because you're going to get a lot of that, most likely. So that's about it, guys. Unforgiveness here, all right? But look, once you become of age and you have your own decisions to make, you're going to have people who got girlfriends, who got boyfriends, people got into relationships, and this is a huge one, your romantic relationships, blah, 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 and they're going to have resentment towards that. And then you're going to need to get detailed really on, okay, what did you do in this thing that was wrong? Because at the end of the day, this is what we're going to be facing in the remaining steps. So, for example, Dylan, he's prideful. Okay, so what is my wrong in the resentment? I'm jealous. Jealousy. Self-centered. I'm just thinking about me. Me, 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 me. This is going to be a common theme. Me, 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 me. It's all about you. The addict's mindset is a selfish one. And this is what this fourth step is trying to teach you. These things are a product of your self-centeredness, your ego, your pride. Okay? You are prideful. It takes one to know one, bud. Self-centeredness, right? Another common one is like placing expectations. Okay? Maybe you were talking with your buddies or whatever, and you were doing gossip about Dylan. Okay? This is your wrong. This is the part you gotta really look at your wrong. Okay? There's so many things that you can think of, trust me. Judgmental, being judgmental. Cynical, okay? Selfish, self-centered. Driven by ego. Driven by fear. Driven by jealousy, pride. Those fruits of the flesh, okay? Lust. Maybe you got into a relationship with a girl, or a guy, whoever, and you opened up to them sexually or emotionally. You got hurt. Well, guaranteed you did some dirt too, okay? You were in it for your own self. Got to write that down. Okay, next one. Does that make sense? Good. Fears. What are you fearful of? Okay, what are you fearful of? I'm fearful of rejection. Okay, what's another one? I'm fearful of not being liked. That's rejection. I'm fearful of relationships. Right? I'm fearful of, and get specific. I'm fearful of this person. When I'm around them, I get physically shaky. It's like I'm fearful of that. I'm fearful of change. Big change. Okay? I'm fearful of being alone. That's a big one. I'm fearful of dying, right? I'm fearful of communicating. I'm fearful of speaking in front of people, right? Things that are there, truly, right? I'm fearful of letting down other people. That could be a big one. And therefore you're codependent. You're always trying to people please because you're so afraid of letting other people down. Okay? So you write that out. Now you have to, in the why portion, you're going to look at the outcome of if this really did come true. If you were to be rejected, what does that mean for you? Well, it means that I have lower self-esteem. Self-esteem. Right? Lower self-esteem. I would be extremely embarrassed. Okay? Maybe I would end up just like my dad. And I hate my dad. I never want to be like my dad or my mom or my brother, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I'd end up like a family member. Okay? So you see how here's the fear, but there's roots of it. There's like an onion. There's layers to it. So if this were to happen, if a big change were to happen in my life, and I'm afraid of that, I don't want that. I don't want to move forward. I don't want to blah, blah, blah. What would that mean for me? I would feel vulnerable. I might not get a new job. I might starve. I might become homeless. This would be the outcome here, okay, of if this really did come true. Okay? Now, what is your wrong here? Again, self-centeredness, ego. Not trusting in God, right? Not understanding I have people around me that really do love me, that they're gonna take care of me, right? Again, selfishness, self-centeredness, verbatim as the book says, selfishness, self-centeredness. That we think is the root of our problems, driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion. Okay? So get specific, guys. Pray, ask the Holy Spirit. Okay, Lord, what else am I wrong of? Okay? Before you take somebody through this stuff, you got to go through it. That's like a prerequisite. Okay? So, does that make sense? Good. Lastly, guilt. Okay? This is called your harms list down here. Who? I harmed my brother. Why? Lied to him. This one's easier for my part, right? Lied to him. Stole his bike to get weed. True story. I did that several times. Whatever else, right? This one's obvious. My ex. Okay? Manipulated. I was using that person for my own good, for my own stuff. I wanted to feel good, so I used them. So that would be I used them. What's your wrong? What's the theme here? What are we trying to really touch at? Selfishness, self-centeredness. So I'm not going to write all that out, okay? But you get the point by there, right? Greed, right? Selfishness, self-centeredness. Your sin has a name. These are sins. This is the old nature. It's the old nature, okay? So that's how you do a fourth step. That's how you do a fourth step. All right? And now, a few things about this is, if you're dealing with a younger person, they're not going to have as much stuff to write down because they're 22 years old. They've only went through so much life. Imagine doing this with a 53-year-old man or woman. How much baggage they have throughout their whole life. It takes them weeks to do this. Weeks, months maybe, to really be thorough, because it says be thorough from the very start in chapter 5 how it works. You have to be thorough. So let that person know. What I usually tell them, I don't usually give a deadline, talking like I'm from Pennsylvania, deadline on the thing from up north, okay? But tell them, I'm not going to give you a deadline, but if you aren't making significant progress by this time, I'm going to check in with you, okay? We good? Okay. So make sure they're on this. Make sure they're doing this is where the rubber meets the road, guys. Really, truly, honestly. Okay? Quick parentheses. If you're dealing with somebody who has got their alliance with Jesus, who is and has been in discipleship, has been seeking the Lord and stuff like that, make sure you emphasize to them that they themselves, the new nature in Jesus is not an addict. Their old nature is. So what these principles, what these 12 steps are addressing really is to crucify the old man or the old woman, right? That's very important that you emphasize that to them. Make sure you let them understand, look, you are not this person in Jesus. But the old one is, and he or she has been getting the best of you lately, and that's why we're sitting here. That's why you have went down this path and got to this point. Okay, I'm going to end the video here so we can break it up. This would be the 4th step on how to do a 4th step. You can write it out like this, pen and paper. No cell phones, no computers, no iPads, blah, blah, blah. Pen and paper, baby, because there has been many studies that says that the brain-to-hand motion of writing, it brings more of the memory, it brings more of the processes out. Okay? Love y'all. Keep it G.